In the early morning of a Canadian winter sometime in the 1970s, the world feels quieter than it ever will again. Snow falls slowly onto narrow residential streets where houses sit low and solid, built more for warmth than for style. The air smells clean, almost untouched. A man in a thick wool coat steps outside to warm up his car, the engine coughing awake in the cold. Inside the house, a radio hums softly with the morning news, its voice calm and steady, trusted by everyone listening. Children eat simple breakfasts at wooden tables while their mothers pack lunches in brown paper bags. Life moves slowly, predictably, and with a sense of quiet certainty. This is Canada then, not perfect, not rich for everyone, but grounded, familiar, and deeply human. Back then, daily life for ordinary Canadians was built around routine and presence. People woke up early, commuted to work without headphones or smartphones, and arrived home knowing most of their neighbors by name. Conversations happened face to face, at grocery stores, hockey rinks, church halls, school parking lots. Kids played outside until the streetlights came on, their winters filled with frozen ponds and backyard rinks, their summers with bicycles, scraped knees, and long evenings that seemed to stretch forever. Television existed, but it didn't dominate life. Families gathered around it together at night, watching the same shows, laughing at the same jokes, and sharing a common cultural rhythm. Work in Canada during those decades felt tangible. Many people held jobs they expected to keep for most of their lives. Manufacturing plants, resource industries, construction, railways, and government offices formed the backbone of employment. A high school diploma was often enough to secure stable work. Wages weren't high, but they felt fair. A single income could often support a family, buy a modest home, and still leave room for a yearly road trip or camping vacation. The economy wasn't fast, but it felt reliable. Inflation existed, but it didn't dominate conversations at dinner tables. People planned their futures with confidence rather than fear. Housing reflected this stability. Homes were smaller, simpler, and more affordable. Buying a house was a milestone, not a lifelong dream slipping further away each year. Mortgages were paid down steadily, and homeownership felt like something earned through patience, not inherited wealth or risky debt. Cities were quieter, less crowded. Downtown cores shut down earlier in the evening, while suburban neighborhoods thrived with local shops, bakeries, and family-run businesses that had served the same streets for generations. Education in Canada during this time carried a sense of balance. Public schools were well-funded and widely trusted. Class sizes were manageable. Teachers were respected figures in their communities. Students learned from textbooks, chalkboards, and handwritten notes. Universities were accessible, not just academically but financially. Tuition was low enough that many students could pay their way through summer jobs. Student debt existed, but it didn't follow graduates like a shadow for decades. Education felt like a pathway forward, not a gamble. Healthcare stood as one of Canada's proudest achievements even then. Universal healthcare meant that illness didn't automatically turn into financial disaster. Doctors knew their patients. Wait times existed but felt reasonable. Hospitals were less crowded, less bureaucratic. The system wasn't perfect, but it was personal. People trusted it. It was part of the social fabric, a shared agreement that no one would be left behind when they were most vulnerable. Immigration during this era quietly reshaped the nation. Canada welcomed people from Europe, Asia, the Caribbean, and later, the Middle East and Africa. Newcomers arrived with hope, often facing hardship, but also finding opportunity. Communities grew slowly and organically. Multiculturalism wasn't just policy, it was lived experience, neighbors sharing food, stories, and traditions. Differences existed, but there was space to grow into them together. Integration happened through schools, workplaces, and local life, not through screens or algorithms. Technology existed, but it stayed in the background. Telephones were attached to walls. Letters carried emotion across long distances. News traveled through newspapers and evening broadcasts. There was time to think, to wait, to wonder. Mistakes faded because they weren't permanently recorded. Privacy existed by default. Life unfolded without constant documentation. Culturally, Canada then felt modest. Pride was quiet, not loud. The country didn't try to dominate global conversations. Its reputation was built on peacekeeping, politeness, and stability. Canadians saw themselves as steady observers of the world rather than center-stage actors. Nature remained close. National parks felt endless. Winters were cold but familiar. Summers were warm but predictable. The land felt constant, unchanging, eternal. Families planned their futures with optimism. Parents believed their children would have lives at least as good as their own, if not better. Progress felt natural, inevitable. Canada seemed like a place moving forward at a human pace. But time, quietly and relentlessly, moved on. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, subtle changes began to surface. The internet arrived slowly at first, through dial-up tones echoing through homes late at night. Computers entered classrooms and offices. Globalization shifted the economy. Factories closed or moved overseas. Jobs became less permanent. Temporary contracts replaced long-term employment. Still, many believed this was just another phase, another adjustment. Then the pace accelerated. By the mid-2000s, Canada stepped into a new era, faster, louder, more connected, and more uncertain. The world shrank into screens. Information flowed endlessly. Convenience replaced patience. And daily life transformed in ways few had fully anticipated. Today, morning in Canada looks very different. Cities wake to the glow of smartphones before the sun rises. People scroll through news, messages, and notifications before their feet touch the floor. Commutes happen in silence, headphones sealing individuals into private worlds. Streets are busier, louder, more crowded. The sense of shared rhythm has fractured into millions of personal timelines. Daily life now feels rushed. People multitask constantly, always connected, always reachable. Children grow up online as much as they do outside. Playgrounds compete with screens. Friendship exists both deeply and superficially at the same time. People are more aware of the world than ever before, yet often feel more isolated within it. Work has changed dramatically. The Canadian economy has shifted toward services, technology, finance, and gig-based labor. Flexibility has increased, but so has insecurity. Many jobs lack benefits, stability, or long-term guarantees. Productivity expectations are higher. Emails follow people home. Workdays stretch beyond office hours. Wages struggle to keep up with living costs. The idea of a single income supporting a family feels almost mythical now for most Canadians. The cost of living has become a defining concern. Groceries, fuel, childcare, and utilities strain household budgets. Housing, once a cornerstone of stability, has become one of the nation's greatest sources of anxiety. Home prices in major cities have soared beyond what average incomes can support. Rent consumes enormous portions of monthly paychecks. Young adults delay milestones, marriage, children, homeownership, not by choice, but by necessity. Generational divides deepen as older homeowners watch values rise while younger Canadians struggle to enter the market at all. Education remains a strength, but its weight has grown heavier. Universities are more competitive, more expensive. Student debt has become a long-term burden. Degrees no longer guarantee stability. Young Canadians face pressure to constantly upgrade skills, chase credentials, and remain adaptable in a rapidly shifting job market. Education feels less like a promise and more like a prerequisite just to stand still. Healthcare, still universal, now strains under modern realities. Aging populations, staffing shortages, and increased demand stretch the system thin. Wait times grow longer. Emergency rooms feel overwhelmed. Healthcare workers face burnout. Trust remains, but it's tempered by frustration. The promise still exists, but delivering it has become more complex. Immigration has reshaped Canada faster than ever before. The country has embraced diversity on a massive scale, becoming one of the most multicultural nations on Earth. Cities pulse with languages, cuisines, and traditions from every corner of the globe. This diversity brings energy, innovation, and resilience. But it also brings challenges: housing pressure, infrastructure strain, and the need for deeper integration. The conversation around immigration has grown louder, more complex, and more emotionally charged, reflecting a nation trying to balance compassion with capacity. Technology now defines modern Canada. Social media shapes identity, politics, and culture. News moves instantly, often without context. Misinformation spreads alongside truth. Privacy feels fragile. Life is documented, archived, and judged in real time. Technology connects families across distances but can also divide those sitting in the same room. Cities have grown upward and outward. Skyscrapers dominate skylines once marked by modest buildings. Infrastructure struggles to keep pace with growth. Traffic congestion, transit expansion, and urban planning dominate public debate. Rural communities face different challenges: aging populations, declining services, and economic shifts that leave them feeling forgotten. Culturally, Canada today speaks louder. It takes stronger positions on global issues. It wrestles openly with its past, especially regarding Indigenous communities. Truth, reconciliation, and accountability have become central themes in national identity. This reckoning is painful but necessary, reshaping how Canada understands itself and its history. Nature, once seemingly eternal, now shows signs of strain. Winters grow warmer, unpredictable. Wildfires burn longer and hotter. Floods and storms test communities. Climate change is no longer abstract, it is visible, felt, and personal. Canadians, deeply connected to their land, feel this loss keenly. Politically, discourse has intensified. Trust in institutions fluctuates. Public debate feels sharper, more divided. Yet beneath the noise, many Canadians still share the same quiet hopes: fairness, opportunity, safety, dignity. Families today carry different emotional weights. Parents worry more about their children's futures. Young people carry stress earlier in life. Mental health conversations have become more open, reflecting both awareness and need. The certainty of the past has been replaced by adaptability and resilience. And yet, through all this change, something endures. Canada remains a place of compassion, of quiet strength. Communities still rally in moments of crisis. Neighbors still help neighbors. The values of fairness, inclusion, and care for one another persist, even as the world grows more complicated. The spirit that once warmed those snowy mornings decades ago hasn't disappeared, it has simply learned to survive in a louder, faster age. The story of Canada is not one of loss alone, nor of progress without cost. It is the story of a nation growing up, carrying the weight of its history while trying to shape a future worthy of those who came before and those yet to come. As the sun sets over modern Canadian cities and rises over forests that have watched centuries pass, the country stands at a crossroads, between memory and momentum, between what it was and what it could become. The past offers lessons of patience, balance, and human connection. The present demands courage, empathy, and innovation. Canada's future will not be defined by perfection, but by choice. By how it protects its people, honors its land, and remembers that progress means little if it leaves humanity behind. In that quiet understanding lies the continuation of a story still being written, a story of a country learning, adapting, and enduring, one generation at a time.